lot lately. And if those of you haven't read Anne Lamott, she's this fantastic writer who lives in the San Francisco Bay Area. She has a really raw, honest voice, and when you read her writing, you really feel like you're just sitting down and having a conversation with her. She also runs this writer's workshop where she's teaching people to write and become novelists and fine-tune their craft. And if you look up, if you Google Anne Lamott, you're going to see this thing called shitty mistakes, or shitty rough draft, actually, because she's a writer. And she says, she goes, I can't wait. I would rather do anything else in the world than write, but I can't wait to sit down and get through that shitty first draft, because then I can move on to the second draft, and it'll be better. And then maybe by the third or fourth draft, I might actually have something good. She doesn't say it exactly that way. There's a quote up here. You can read it for yourselves. It might be a little too much for our society now, so she summed it up for us recently in Twitter, saying, most good writing begins with a shitty first draft, long, scribbly spew, except for the work of truly loathsome people, whom God doesn't even like. I thought that was just such a great topic for this evening. Now, I was asked to come and talk at Kluge just through the work that I do with Acture, and I was going to give a demo of Acture tonight, and it just, through the thing, it's not going to work out the way it is. I will be doing some upstairs if anybody wants to look at it, but this theme of mistakes is what got me excited. Around 2002, I went back to grad school to study industrial design after working in the dot-com internet age starting around like 97. So I'd spent 5 years working on these like websites and creating these things, and we didn't know what we were doing, but we were just having a good time. And I don't know if anybody here remembers pets.com and the Super Bowl commercial, and we were making some pretty big mistakes, and we didn't care because we had really good parties to go to. But I was kind of burned out, and I always told myself I'd go to grad school when the economy, turned, when we had a recession, I'd go to grad school. So 2002, I go to grad school, and I'm looking for something more tangible. So I decide I'm going to study industrial design, and I suddenly start seeing design in everything. I'm like, salt and pepper shakers, oh my God, somebody designed that. The orange cone for traffics, like, somebody designed that, and I got this really big ego trip about how I was going to change the world without them even knowing about it, And so I go back to grad school, and my background wasn't actually design. I had studied special ed and rehabilitation with a minor in fine art, and so going into industrial design, I had to take some foundation courses before I could start the graduate program. Day one, we're shown this wonderful film, and it's still timeless. It's, you can look for it on YouTube. It was a Nightline presentation about IDEO, the great design thinking company where they redesigned the shopping cart. IDEO, at the time had this amazing motto, fail early, fail often. I heard this for the first time, and I was like, great, I found my career, right? Like, I can fail. And lately that has changed. It's really adopted. It's been a mantra of Silicon Valley, fail fast to succeed. But it's not just in Silicon Valley anymore. Last week I was reading a medical journal magazine type thing out of UCLA where they were doing research for autism drugs, and they were using this fail fast to succeed motto so that they could weed out the stuff that they knew wouldn't work in the beginning and really spend the money and focus on what could. This is not an idea that's new. If you look, Winston Churchill said, success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. I'm playing with the greats here. But I want to go back to what is it? I came to Kluge to ask what was going to happen at this event, and I was pounced on tell us your juicy mistake. Tell us, what did you do? And I was kind of feeling put on the spot, and I'm like, I have some really good ones, but I'm not going to share them in a public event. I might want to get hired one day. But I started really thinking about what is it that we so relish about people's mistakes. And I started thinking a little bit more. And I started thinking about my shameful mistake. And this is going to go back in the 2000 dot-com era. Working on new startup. We're going to have a launch coming up. And, you know, we've been there. We've done it. I'd just seen the B-52s at a private party. Like, how are you going to impress me? I didn't want another T-shirt. So we're all talking, like, what could we do? And somebody goes, let's go bowling. And everybody's like, oh, my God, let's go bowling. I start hyperventilating. I'm like, no, 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 we can't go bowling. And everybody's like, what kind of a freak are you? It's just bowling. And they're trying to convince me, and I suddenly just blurt out, oh my God, I broke the bowling alley. And they're like, what? Like, who breaks the bowling alley? And I start telling them this story that I had lived with in this private secret shame for 10 or 11 years that went back to when I was like on the speech and debate team in high school, hanging out with like the misfits straight out of a John Hughes film where we were all the like, none of us were the jocks. You know, we were just the ones that nobody else would hang out with. And we happened to find ourselves in this little town in Thermopolis, Wyoming, on a debate team, staying in a hotel that had a bowling alley behind it. And we're like, so let's go bowling. Nobody on the team had bowled. Nobody was any good. You know, geeks weren't cool then. We were all socially and physically awkward and clumsy. But we're like, yeah, let's go bowling. So we're all bowling strike after strike after strike, you know, gutter ball, not strike, sorry, see, I still don't know bowling. Gutter ball, gutter ball, gutter ball, and I'm bored. But I was the youngest person on the team, and I wanted to impress him. So I'm sitting there, how can I impress him? And I get this glorious idea. I'm going to just flip everybody's minds. So I grab my ball, and I go up and I wait for the most opportune moment. And I wait for my best friend who was a year older than me, and so not the youngest one anymore, but he was my closest compadre. And I'm like, I'm gonna freak him out. So I wait until he throws his ball, or whatever you call it, and I'm right behind him, and the minute his ball leaves his fingers, mine goes right behind it. Everybody's gonna freak out, right? Well, this would have been kind of funny maybe if that jerk would have actually got another gutter ball because nothing really bad would have happened. But as it is, his ball goes down and it's the best thing of the night and it knocks down like half of the pins. And my ball is right behind it, and then down comes the arm, ball starts bouncing, 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 bouncing. And I've broken the bowling alley, and I got in so much trouble, and there was so much shame, and nobody would talk to me. But as I'm telling the story, I suddenly find this is really funny. And there's this human thing about this, and I no longer have that shame controlling me. And now I've got to talk really fast because I've used up all my time. But, you know, what I learned is we have to let go of our mistakes, we have to let go of our shame, and we have to start learning. There is one huge, this is what I want you all to know tonight about design. There is one mistake that we still constantly make. It's called best practices. Best practices are the black hole of innovation. Without best practices, our websites would still look like this. Our rich mobile experiences would look like this, or this. Whoops, there. See, I'm going fast. So how did we get from there to here? Early failure is glorious. And I'm not going to read this one or this one, but I'm going to say it really should be fail early and modify and test again. And hopefully, as you complete the process, you start to fine-tune it and actually get it to be better. This is lean process. You've seen it. You may not. But it's through usability testing and prototyping that really allow for this modification. And if we do this early on in the design, we can actually start running with something that's a little bit better for our users and for our clients. And you'll notice that I said a little bit better. I didn't say good. And this is because, and I'm also throwing in, this is the tool I like using most, because You can go from this to even this without touching a bit of code. So you can really test on any platform that you're going to use without getting developers and anybody else who's going to cost you money and slow you down. So come up and talk to me about Axure. I love the tool. Used to be agnostic until I started using it. And now I'm going to say, I didn't say better, or I didn't say good, I said better. And this is because we all know design is never finished. We just have deadlines.